So this is what the contribution engine looks like from the top of the contribution statement to the bottom of the balance sheet. It goes from the audience to the different roll forwards. We're going to talk about different roll forwards a little bit, but for now that can just be a customer roll forward. It could also be a service provider roll forward, and there's other potential ones there as well. But then you get to the unit economics, and these act like the frequency codes. We'll talk about that more in a second. Then, of course, we get the cash cycle. And at the bottom of the cash cycle here, there's like sort of the AR and deferred, like revenue getting created and cash being collected. Then you got basically the income statement from revenue to net income. The cash flow statement starts at net income and goes to, the cash roll forward, and the balance sheet starts at cash and ends at equity. Now we've tied basically maximizing the audience all the way to the shareholders. That's important because what we're trying to do here is build a complex system that sort of enables everybody to see where they fit. In other words, the important thing we do in the contribution line, like you used to call these accountants, but we're really just instrumenting the business. Then there's people staffing the business, and in some cases, like at Brave, sometimes you put that up into the contribution engine if it's big enough. Then there's the people financing the contribution engine, like predicting what's going to happen, and that requires this next tool. So, and then there's the people just overseeing this whole system and making sure we have the right strategy. So that's like the four-statement model, and then you look at these on a quarterly basis, and then this gives you like the unit economics, and those show some variance over time, and that could be noise, it could be penetration, but what we want to be thinking about is for each of these S-curves, whether it's market 1 or market 2 or market N, for each of these S-curves, how long will it take to get to the unit economics we see today to the unit economics that we expect to be able to have, and do we have enough cash to finance that? And that's sort of the job of people here, like financing the whole contribution engine. So now that we've instrumented the contribution engine sort of at Brave Health pretty well, the trick is to sort of make this prism. And so just like a prism breaks the light into its component parts, the unit economics do the same thing for a contribution engine. So with observation, then we convert a potential audience into referrals all through kind of the whole system down to creating shareholder value. And we look at sort of as we are on a quarterly basis and what the rainbow looks like, how big are each of the components as a percentage or on a per unit basis. And that's from as is and to be. So we do this quarterly because we're going to have a much bigger row set than you're used to forecasting. We're going to do this, it's a much bigger row set than you're used to forecasting. So to make it simpler, we're just going to end up looking at it, the quarterly, weekly averages. Not even the quarters as they show up on the P&L. We're going to use the quarters from the MMM. And this is also a good opportunity to basically say how the system works. So we've already produced, the weekly data warehouse such as it is, and it produces an MMM. From that MMM, we're producing average weekly per quarter. Now we've got a bunch of quarters of history, and then we can basically by the S-curve make a quarterly forecast of the average weeklies, for the per appointment unit economics, which, back in 2021, those sucked, and we fixed those, and now we got multiple S-curves growing. And so we should also be looking at, in addition to per appointment unit economics, we also need to look at per referral, so every referral that we get, what does that cost and how much do we make? And then we should look at it per therapist. And then that is, months make things confusing, and annual budgets enable people to do stupid things. So then what we'll do once we have this sort of, what I call the unit economics forecast, which you import range from the MMM, and that'll also give you an idea of how the rest of the system works, because we're going to build from this with an API, import range, where every row in here, I'm going to only pull the rows I need to do this high-level evaluation on the per unit economics per appointment, per referral, and per provider. And that's the project to create the unit economics forecasting engine. That will feed a long-term valuation model as well. And then we're going to need to make a tool to stack S-curves market by market for the long term, but not now. Mostly right now, I just want to do one thing to import range the MMM into a unit economics forecasting tool, and then break the unit economics down this way. Yay. And once we have that, we'll be able to project cash, see how much money we need, throw it into the long-term valuation model, and we'll also have a valuation across each of these metrics.